Hello, I am back, and my parents have given me so much tomatoes. Too many tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, tomatoes, I don't know, Roma tomatoes, all of it. So I have used as much as possible. I've used it fresh in salads. I have frozen some, like I just kept them to just add to sauces, particularly cherry tomatoes. It's too hot to have a soup. However, I'm gonna show you a 1 tray bake tomato sauce. Super easy, you could use this in the future. So ideally what I do is I bake it, and I'll show you exactly what I'm gonna do. I bake it, I blitz it. Now I've seen this go viral on like TikTok with the youngins making a tomato soup. So essentially it could be a tomato soup, exactly how I'm gonna do it, but I freeze it into portions, into like containers, put it into the freezer and use it later on for lasagna, pasta sauces, when I'm making meatballs. Essentially it is tomatoes. I've got about 2 kilos here, assortment. You could use, make sure they're ripe though. That's the thing. The riper they are, the more flavor that's enhanced. I add in 1 red onion. I'll just roughly, just chop it into quarters. I have 3 large cloves of garlic, so maybe 5. And I have some fresh oregano. I have some fresh basil leaves and some flat leaf parsley. I'll just roughly chop it, put it into a roasting tray as such. I cover it and cook it at 200 for about, I'm gonna say 15 to 20 minutes, but basically until everything's sort of cooked. I let it cool down. I blitz it with like a handheld stick blender or in a blender or a food processor, whatever you have, and I freeze it into portions. So I'll show you how I kind of do it very, very easy. No exact measurements. I've got 2 kilos of tomatoes, and I'm gonna say about a cup of mixed fresh herbs of your liking. You could leave it out. You could add red capsicum. You could add a chili. It is really up to you. I just keep it at onion, garlic, parsley, oregano, bit of basil and tomato, olive oil, salt and pepper. You could leave the salt out. And that is it. I keep it simple. That way I can then add, if I want capsicum to the dish, I can add it. If I want chili later, depending, I can add it later. But this is so good. And sometimes, like in the past when I've cooked with it, I've literally defrosted it and boiled pasta and mixed it, added a little bit of cheese, checked the seasoning, and I've thought to myself, I feel so, not lazy doing it. I'm like, am I cheating? No, but that's how flavoursome and easy it is. You could even use it for pizza toppings later. If it's too runny later, you can add a bit of tomato paste just to thicken it up. But that's it. Some add, carrots. I'm not gonna add carrot, celery. Keep it simple. Right, I'm adding in my cherry tomatoes. These are washed. I've just taken the little red bits off. I'm gonna add in whatever other tomatoes I have. With these, I'll probably just slice them in half. But that's about it, just so that you don't have to. If you're using all these, you could just leave them, but slicing in half, then it just evenly distributes the cooking process. Back to that, I'm gonna add the red onion, just like that. You could just separate it actually. It doesn't really matter because it's all gonna stew together as such. Just wedge it right in. And goes our garlic. We're gonna do parsley. Let's go in with some fresh oregano. Now, I don't actually have fresh basil, but I'm gonna use my freezer stash. So I froze a bunch of basil leaves as such. Perfect, you can just scrunch them if you like, it doesn't matter. Just gonna put a little bit in there and that's it. Alright, season, bit of salt. Now I'm not gonna put sugar because later when I cook with it, I can just check the acidity. So I'll just leave it as is, some black pepper, ground black pepper. And I'm gonna use light olive oil, but you could use extra virgin. It's totally optional. I just kind of use light because it's a bit more neutral and then it's versatile. I can always add to it later. So I'm gonna stir this up, cover it and bake it for about 15-20 minutes and I'll show you what happens after. All right, there you have it. This actually took 45 minutes in the oven. Oh God, sorry, I'm losing my voice. So it was covered 45 minutes at 200 degrees, fan force. So I'm literally going to just blitz it all up, and then just portion them out into either containers. I've got little disposable, paper disposable, sort of hot and cold containers. I'll show you later. And that's it. That is literally it. So you can add this to pasta sauce later. Well, not pasta sauce. Use it as pasta sauce with meatballs, lasagna, whatever. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit paler in colour. You could just add some tomato paste to give it a little bit more depth. But it's so delicious on its own. You have it. So these containers are fantastic. They're like kind of super hot kind of containers, and they're disposable as well. So I got 3 500ml servings and one about 400ml, which is fine because I can always use that for something small or a small portion, because I'm loving the little 250-gram packets of pasta that I got gifted, which is great because then, you know, if we're having something different and the kids don't want to eat what we're eating, that's a good portion. Otherwise, you can always add a tin of crushed tomatoes or another passata or some meat, whatever you like, guys. But it's a really good base to use if you grow or you see some ripe tomatoes. I definitely do 2 kilos at a time, 2 to 3 kilos, make it worthwhile.